Okay, I think we're going to get started because we have a long program tonight. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Karen Schultz. I'm the president of the Chamber, the Lake Travis Chamber of Commerce, and I'd like to welcome you tonight to the 2024 Candidate Forum. I'm really pleased that everybody is here and that you take some time out of your evening to listen to the candidates, to get informed and educated so that you have a vote that you're confident with for this Lakeway City Council election. It's my honor to be here tonight, and some of the people that are here with me. I'd like to introduce Channing Kane, who's helped today, Mike Paule, Karen Goodgame out in the back there greeting everybody. Thank you, really appreciate it. We strive to be fair and thoughtful about these elections. The Chamber does not take a position on candidates, and we're just here to educate the community and represent the businesses which we advocate for. We have almost 400 businesses in the Lake Travis Chamber, so these elections are important to us, not only for the businesses, but many of our businesses are owned by residents that live here, work here, and play here. So it's an important evening for us. I'd like to introduce our candidates. Kelly Brynteson, we've got Matt Sherman, we've got Jennifer Szimanski and Christopher Levy. And then over here to my left is Pastor Paul Johnson. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about him. He's done this for us before, a couple of years ago. He and his wife Bernadette moved here from Virginia in 2013. And they have 3 sons, and he is the vicar of the Church of the Cross, which is over on 71. Part of his ministry is because he's excited to see new things that God has in store, and that you receive and discover the full, rich, encouraging, and challenging relationship with God that the Lord intends for you. Clearly, he had a calling to say yes to serving as the moderator this evening when we asked him. So it's my pleasure to introduce Pastor Paul Johnson.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. So first, let me just tell a little bit about the process this evening. But before we get into that, first, may we express our appreciation to the 4 people here standing for office. They are offering themselves for the sake of the well-being of this community, and we are grateful for their willingness to put themselves forward. So let's please give a round of applause for our candidates this evening. And secondly, our appreciation to one another for taking time out of our evening to be better informed as the election approaches. And finally, we want to thank the Lake Travis Chamber for putting this evening together. So this evening is going to be divided into 2 parts. In the first part, we will begin with each candidate having an opportunity to introduce themselves for 2 minutes, which will be followed by 3 questions for which they have 90 seconds to respond to each of these prepared questions, which they have seen beforehand. And we will rotate our responses to each of these 4 questions. In the second part, the candidates will respond to questions put forward by you. You should have received a question card when you entered the space. If at any time you have a question for our candidates, please write down the question and hold the card up in the air, and someone from the chamber will come and pick it up, and the cards will be brought forward, and I'll ask the questions on behalf of the audience, and then we'll conclude with each candidate offering a brief closing word. During this time, we ask of one another the following: that we please silence our cell phones, that we be respectful to the candidates and one another. Please keep side conversations to a minimum so we can be sure to be able to hear what's said. Please do not interrupt or disrupt the speakers, and please hold all applause until the end of the forum, when we can again thank the candidates for their willingness to stand for office in this community. So, thank you, everybody. We're glad you're here. Shall we begin? Okay. So our first question is this. Please introduce yourself and share a little bit of what is inspiring you to stand for office. And you have each have 2 minutes to respond. And Ms. Brynteson, if you would begin.
Hi, my name is this on? Hi, my name, can you guys hear it okay? Okay, good. Up here, you can't hear it. So, Hi, my name is Kelly Brynteson. I am running for re-election in the Lakeway City Council. My husband and I are proud 17-year residents of Lakeway. We moved here, and since then we were married here, and our 2 children were born at Lakeway Regional. We are proud parents of 2 little Mustangs at Lakeway Elementary. The reason why I actually got involved with the city or city council is that we had some issues with development and road safety measures and traffic in our area. I felt it was best to go ahead and start attending city council meetings and other meetings to advocate for myself and my family. Once I attended all city council meetings, I decided to run for council. I was elected in 2022, and since then I was appointed to I sit on 4 different appointments. I'm CapCog, a representative for CapCog City Council, liaison to the Arts Committee. I am on the Comprehensive Plan Committee, and the real reason why I still am involved with this is to really grow the Lakeway community. I have a lot of experience as going to all the city council meetings. The main things that I'm trying to drive are balancing the budget, business growth and taxes. We're small business owners. The other thing, road traffic and safety. I've done a lot of safety traffic issues and have some successes around Flit Rock Road. Intersection at 620 was redesigned because of me. I was imperative to update the stop signs and get 2 stop signs into the Serene Hills neighborhood. I'm really seeking re-election to continue representing you guys. I love to work with you guys. I have received numerous calls and asked for help, and that is the why I am running again. Thank you.
I'm Matt Sherman. My wife Anna and I have lived in Lakeway for 5 years. Our daughter Peyton has lived in Lakeway her entire life, 3.5 years. She's born right here at Baylor. Her favorite park is Dragon Park. I'm a pilot, an avid mountain biker, and I work in advertising. I got started serving all of you in 2022 when I was appointed to the Aviation Zoning District Committee and worked under the guidance of Ron Massa. We turned in a great product, and I was hooked on wanting to do more. I ran for election for our local HOA and won by a margin of 3-1, and I currently serve there as president. We have 220 homes, representing around $170 million of real estate value. Then I wanted to give back more to the entire city, so I met with Councilmember Sanjeev Kumar, who at the time was the liaison for zoning and planning, or ZAPCO. I was appointed unanimously by this council to ZAPCO, where I currently serve as a commissioner. ZAPCO operates within the boundaries of our ordinances as well as our city's comprehensive plan. Last year when it was discussed that we needed to update our comprehensive plan, you can imagine that I was eager to step up and contribute. This council unanimously appointed me as the chair of our 2024 comprehensive plan. We're making good progress right now. The logical next step for me to give back to all of you and to serve this community is doing so as a council member. I am dedicated to honoring the heritage of our city and shaping its future. So as societal norms change, as we see growth here, which is coming, we must do everything we can to preserve the character that we all love here in Lakeway. Matt Sherman, thank you.
I'm Jennifer Szimanski. I'm one of your current council members seeking re-election. I have resided along with my husband in Lakeway for exactly 12 years. And we have 2 children that were born here. They're 7 and 9. They attend Lake Travis ISD schools. The reason I initially ran 2 years ago was just kind of, I have been in public service since I graduated college. My first job right out of college was working for the state in a law enforcement capacity with the Attorney General's office. Went from there to the Austin Police Department, and I've been in law enforcement for 15 years. About 5 years ago, I switched over to a public affairs role, and I am currently still a reserve deputy in law enforcement, but my full-time job is legislative work for law enforcement issues across the state of Texas. So this is, public policy and government is kind of my passion. So naturally, I've always been interested and involved, even at a local level. So there were some issues going on in Lakeway, and public safety is obviously extremely important to me as a mother of 2 young children here, and we want to raise our family here and have them grow up here. Public safety is an issue in our neighboring city of Austin, and I did not want to see the things happening there creep into our community. As far as staying on council, I'm seeking re-election because I'm 100% invested in the things that I've done so far with our council and want to see these projects through. Things like the town center, which is going to change Lakeway quite a bit for the better. And again, keeping public safety at the forefront, and most of all is working with all the citizens I've been able to meet and connect with and solve problems in a timely manner. It's my favorite part about local government, and I want to stay. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to see all these familiar faces here in town. My name is Christopher Levy. I'm a 30-year member of the Lake Travis community. My family originally moved to Lakeway in 1994 from the Woodlands, Texas. My wife, Pearl, and I, we live in Old Lakeway. We have a 10-year-old daughter, Nahia, who attends the Blaze Academy out on Hamilton Pool Road. And she was born here at the Lakeway Regional Medical Center. And, you know, what compelled me to run is when I first came here in 94 as a bright-eyed veteran just exiting the Army, I was kind of taken aback at how awesome this region was. It had so much to offer. Immediately began working parking cars and doing security at the old backyard, and began a career of about 7 years of working in the streaming media business. Mark Cuban was our first big client. And the reason, you know, that I continue to push to run for city council and why I'm here tonight, I think Lakeway is about to go through some pretty significant change. A lot of it is around business and around commerce. We have clearly a big water issue that we're facing today, but I'd like to bring my business acumen. I took a company that was a 2-person startup and turned it into a $70 million revenue company, and I continue to invest in a lot of different mutual funds, and we work a lot with philanthropies, but around the financial challenges and the future of Lakeway and continuing to keep Lakeway's finances strong as they are today is going to be a big challenge. Definitely want to help address some of the future property tax potential rises that we can offset by increasing sales tax. I'm very interested in looking at the hot tax fund, and I think we'll talk more about that in the remaining questions. But I'm Christopher Levy. I'm number 4 on the ballot, and I appreciate your vote. Thank you.
So our next question, and Mr. Sherman, if you would respond first, and then we'll just go back down the line and return to Ms. Brynteson. What are the greatest strengths of this community? And how would you build upon those strengths to move the community into a better future?
If you've read the 2 history books on Lakeway, and they're hard to find, or out of print, at least one of them is, the message that comes up over and over again is about volunteerism and helping each other out, and that the residents of the city shape the city. There's been instances, I can see that there's a few longtime residents here who I remember when the city park almost didn't happen, that people thought that wasn't a good idea, or that this very building wouldn't happen. And enough people rallied and said, no, this needs to happen, this is a good idea. And all the people that were naysayers at the time are now like, no, I definitely voted for that. That's a great amenity. We saw everyone come together during the ice storms, helping the neighbors out, and that's what it's all about. Everyone in those books as well, when they talk about where do you want to see the future of Lakeway, they said we want to see more people volunteering and more people helping to shape the community. This is a community we live in, 22,000 people, and it's a very, very accessible city hall, very accessible city staff, whether it's police, or Parks and Rec Department, or Dale with the Public Works Department. And you can ask them for something and they will respond. You might not always appreciate the exact answer, but you know you're gonna get an answer. And that's what's so great here about Lakeway, is that strong community.
So Matt kind of stole my thunder on that one, but I will say, I think the number 1 strength for us is our residents. In several ways, but the volunteers that we have that I've met over the last couple of years and even prior to that, it amazes me how many of you there are, how many people want to volunteer their time in Lakeway. I think we really need to embrace all of them and you know, give them as many opportunities as we can, and also grow group. I've worked with some to try to gather ideas on how we do that and how we make our community volunteers larger and engage other parts of Rough Hollow, or I say because Rough Hollow probably doesn't have as many, Rough Hollow and other newer parts of the community that maybe don't know about a lot of our volunteer groups or a lot of our just community groups in general. I don't think that they're all really well known. So that's something I would be looking to do, is just make it even better than it already is, because it really is one of the biggest strengths of our community. Secondly, I think is just the natural beauty here in Lakeway and our residents and how we are able to attract business. So when we do finally open the town center, I think one of the greatest things is that people are gonna want to come open businesses here. And I want those to be small businesses and unique businesses. And I don't think we're gonna struggle to find those in other parts of Austin or Central Texas. You know, they may struggle with that, but I think we have the luxury of being able to attract really any type of business that we want here.
It's a good question. I might take it in a different direction. I do believe that Lakeway's residents are our greatest assets, and I myself am officially volunteering to serve all of you as a city council member. You know, I think actually some of our other strengths are in the future of the city. We've heard a lot about the town square. I met with the developer today actually and got a briefing and an update on it. And it really holds a lot of potential to really drive some serious dynamics in our city. The town square has potential to create a central place for us to do commerce and to have events. It creates an opportunity for different types of residential living to access more retail and commercial businesses without having to go out on 620. The town square gives us an opportunity for many of you in the crowd to stay in Lakeway and keep your dollars in Lakeway, keep your property taxes down, continue to help drive the hot tax fund, which in turn helps create more sales tax revenue. And so for me, I think the biggest strength is just the future. The city has a lot of future ahead of it, and we've been around for a while, I think 65 years, I believe, but you know, 65 years in front of us, I think the next 10 years are going to be monumental for us. We've got a lot of issues to tackle, so I'm looking forward to tapping into that and help driving that and working with the other council members and the city staff and all of you to do that.
I'm going to echo a little bit of what others have said. I definitely think that the volunteers and the people of Lakeway have definitely become our treasures. It is one of our best benefits. We have people in the room tonight that have been volunteers for decades, greater than 3 decades in some cases. They're the ones who created the city. They're the ones who created everything around here. It's truly what drew everyone here. We all came here for all the same reasons: the beauty, the buildings, the community that they created. And I think the asset with that is actually taking that and working side by side with some of them and saying, hey, what are you looking for the future? You guys have done amazing work over the past few decades. Let's go ahead and start passing the torch to some of the younger folks in the community. Build up that volunteerism so that the next generation can come in and carry that torch into the future. And really build out the volunteerism and continue with the success of Lakeway. Right now we're in our 60th decade. I can't wait to see what Lakeway looks like when my kids are hopefully coming back from college and 2 decades from now. I hope they return to Lakeway and they continue following the same steps that I'm in and continue working for the city. Thank you.
Excuse me, thank you. So our next question, Ms. Szimanski, if you could begin with this, is what do you believe is the most pressing issue facing Lakeway, and how would you address this issue?
So I think growth and transportation, which they do go hand in hand, but unfortunately for us as a city, they're separate in terms of the 620 expansion and the work we're doing with TxDOT is something that we have to continuously keep our eye on and be working toward getting to that final expansion so that our connectivity and traffic issues with the growth will be solved and everybody will be much happier when that happens. We have done a lot of work already in that regard with our transportation bond that we passed. Thank you to our residents. We can now provide connectivity that will funnel into that 620 expansion. Growth, again, talking about the town square, we have to, I think there's already been some mistakes made by other political subdivisions in our area on this growth issue. And how are we measuring the growth, and is the growth sustainable? All those things have to be considered when we're talking about how we develop our town center. So, keeping an eye on what type of businesses we're attracting, how we're zoning or rezoning or not, and how we basically develop as a whole the town center as far as residential versus retail, and what type of businesses we bring in. I think growth is something we have to pay attention to and be as accurate as possible on.
So it's hard for me to prioritize any one of these three over the other. For me, it's growth, water, and safety/security. I think, we're going to continue to hear a lot about the growth issue, because if you've been attending the city council meetings and been to any of these forums, it's very clear that we've got some mounting issues around how we grow. We've already kind of, had just growth issues, for example, around, where schools go, and there's a lot of debate around that. Growth in the town square and growth in the other retail businesses around here has to be a priority. We have to get our businesses back in business. We took a huge hit during COVID. A lot of businesses didn't make it, but a lot of good businesses did. We need to get behind them. We need to get behind the developers that are building out town square and get town square done. As far as water goes, continue to be very, mindful of these briefings that Earl and Mud and Stephanie are giving. Water is a major, major issue. We're going to have some dead landscaping by the end of the summer, but that means you're going to have water for the holidays. This is just a fact. Lastly, safety and security. As the Vice President of the Lakeway Police Foundation, I've been working hard to continue to tap into resources in the city to continue to help provide more health and value and wellness for the officers and for victim services. And to that effect, we gave $20,000 to the police department last week. We got a bunch more lined up at a gala in October. But all these issues, growth, water, and security, that's really what I'm focused on.
Ms. Brynteson.
For me, I think it's a conversation that hasn't started yet, and it's regard to taxes. Once the 620 expansion happens, 620 is going to be a mess. That is our main commercial corridor in Lakeway. The route to get to these businesses is going to be difficult. It's going to be treacherous. And on this campaign trail, I've had numerous conversations with residents who are very concerned about that. And they said, oh, well, I'm not going to visit Lakeway businesses. I'll just go the back way down 71 and go to BK and shop there and dine there and entertain my family there. That's great for BK, but that hurts us financially. As a fiscal conservative, I'm concerned about our budget and what is going to take place when we have a downturn in taxes. Because what is going to happen is we're going to have to either, one, make very hard choices on what we can provide our residents, or two, we're going to have to raise taxes. Nobody wants our taxes raised, so we're going to really have to have some very in-depth, detailed conversations and honest, hard conversations in the future about what we will be able to provide or do. Those conversations will be starting in the next couple of years, and I hope I'm on council to be able to help guide those. I'm a small business owner, and I understand the pain. Thank you.
Mr. Sherman.
Thank you. So in the city survey that was sent out this past fall, parks and green belts, in the variety of questions, ranked number one as for citizen priorities. So the question being, what is our most pressing issue in Lakeway? We have an election in 2 weeks, not just for us up here, but more importantly, I'd say, is for the future of our parks and green belts in the city with a parks bond for $22 million. If you've been attending the council meetings in the parks town squares that they've had, you can see that the team that's been working on that, led by Andrew Bennett, has really whittled that down to all the essential items. There's no fluff in there. It's things that are going to take our parks, take them as great as they are today, and enhance them for the future for many, many years to come. The average cost to the homeowner is going to be around $10 a month. I can't buy Peyton a toy that's $10 a month that lasts more than a few days. I'm paying more than $10 a month for streaming services, for shows that never seem to come back. So I think it's pretty easy to find the $10 a month that we can do to support this parks bond. The second issue, of course, is the water, and we have to look at that in two different ways. One is water conservation efforts, make sure that there's nothing that the city has in an ordinance that would prevent or be in opposition of water conservation. And then the second is making sure that we have responsible development going forward so we don't overload our water supply.
So the next question, and Mr. Levy, if you would please respond to first, is paint a picture of your vision for what Lakeway looks like at the end of your service.
Well, I'd like to see Lakeway become one community. Matt had mentioned the survey that went out in Parks and Rec were the highest priority of the very small sample set of people here in Lakeway that actually got the survey. And that's kind of indicative of the Lakeway we live in right now. We've got this part of Lakeway, and a lot of you live here, I live here, but there's also all these other communities that aren't here tonight, or not well represented, and you know, that is part of my message. I'd like to see one Lakeway. I'd like to see Lakeway be a city that's a contiguous unit, that Rough Hollow and Stream Hills and Alta Vista and Arvalago and all the communities that surround Old Lakeway or Lakeway Central, Lakeway proper, you know, be more united, and we do more things together, we interop together, we have more participation from these communities in the city process. The fact that we had such a low sampling on this survey for the comprehensive plan and the Parks and Recs bond, which I hope passes because it's a nominal amount of money, and I would agree with Matt, it's a huge benefit. But the fact that there's 22,000 people in Lakeway, and I think maybe 2,000, or I'd say at most 3,000 actually completed the survey, that bothers me a little bit, even if you throw out the children. But I want to see one Lakeway. I mean, there's a lot of young families and people that have moved here that actually share our values and they want Lakeway to be great. And they continue to feel a bit isolated and not like they're part of Lakeway. And I hope we can overcome and surpass that and actually, you know, truly be one city.
For me, I'm a current council member. I was elected in 2022. So God willing, I will be here for another 2 terms, so 4 years out. So at the end of those 4 years, we will be heavy into construction. 620, our roads, our bond has passed, so our roads will be under construction. The town center is going to be well underway, and with that, I would like to help guide our build out and ideas for the town center. Currently, we have a consultant that comes in, it's the retail coach. He's actually guiding some of the thought process in regards to what can go into certain areas. Redevelopment is a big conversation on the plan review and PUD development agreement committee. That's the subcommittee that I'm on. So helping guide, getting in the best businesses, small businesses, and potentially other larger businesses that might be interested in coming to Lakeway. So really giving my thought process into that and guiding the best for Lakeway as we continue in. So hopefully for 4 more years. Thank you.
Mr. Sherman.
I think I answered this one.
No, I don't think so. Paint a picture of your vision for what Lakeway looks like at the end of your service.
That's easy. Okay, so I plan to serve this community for many, 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 many years. And I see quite a few folks in the audience, Dwight Haley, Steve Smith, Mayor Edwards, that have done the same. And I would look to follow in their footsteps. My goal is that at the end, which will be a sad day, not just for Lakeway, but for my own family, people aren't going to look at Lakeway and pass something and they go, who thought this was a good idea? We've all passed things like that. Like, who did this? What group thought this was a good idea? I don't think it's that hard to avoid something like that. The people that have come before all of us have done an excellent job of setting the city up. When I hear things about let's look elsewhere, let's see what other cities are doing, let's take into account what they might be doing, maybe that's a better way, I strongly disagree with that. I think we set the standard here in Lakeway. I think that's why we have seen so much growth, and I look forward to continuing that through council, mayor, and whatever other opportunities come up that I'm able to contribute. Thank you.
For me, it's the vision I see, and again, I'm on the same track with Kelly in terms of the terms that I'll be able to serve. But I do also plan to, I'm very invested, like I said. I don't see myself leaving in 4 years and not doing anything else to contribute to the city. Once you've invested you care about what happens moving forward and you're invested in all the decisions that you've made. So I want to see the city be in a really good shape financially. That's a huge priority for me, and it will help all of our citizens if we are financially in a really good place. We are operating in the green all the time, and I think the way that we maintain that and get even better in that regard in terms of taxes for our citizens is, again, the town square. So I want to make sure that when my time, at least on council, is over, that we are set with the town square in terms of where we're going, who's coming in, what businesses we're attracting, and secondly, public safety. We've done a really good job so far on my 2 years in council of making sure that every single tool that's available out there, we are making sure that the chief feels supported in that endeavor, and we have approved those. And are, while we are seeing some spikes in some areas, I think overall we're doing a really good job, but we have to continue focusing on public safety.
Thank you for your responses to all of these questions. We're very grateful. We have some questions from the audience that we're hoping that you would respond to, and in maybe about 30 seconds, okay? So everybody has a chance to respond to all of these questions. We'll begin with you again, Ms. Brynteson, and then we'll just keep rotating through. So the first question is, how much control should the city council have over the city staff?
I think that is a very good question. I think it should be limited. We have a city manager for a reason. He acts as CEO for the company. Your board of directors for a major Fortune 500 company is not in meddling at the lower levels. They have their CEO, they give directions to the CEO, they provide insight and information, and that's where it stops. So just as council, we act as a board member, as a board. I think we should provide direction to our city manager, and he needs to handle it from there.
So our job as council members and elected council members is to drive the city forward in the direction that our constituents, all of you, want. So I feel there's a very big responsibility to make sure that staff is ultimately following the wishes of our residents, and I support that. I don't think that means we need to micromanage. We have a very good staff. We have a very competent city manager and assistant city manager, but they do look to us for the direction because we are taking that direction from all of you, the residents.
I think that it should be limited as well, and the reason being, I feel very strongly about this, and I advocate for this at every level in my normal job, which is that public servants, which all of our city staff are, should be free from political influence. And the second that you start involving elected officials into city staff and their everyday decision-making, that causes problems, and we've seen it here. And ultimately, we are going to be able to represent our constituents. We're going to be voting on the issues ultimately. So it will all come out at the end, and we will get, sorry, I'm over my time. Thank you.
Yeah, I think as little as possible, but as much as necessary. Currently, I see the city council as a quasi-advisory board/board, with the mayor being the quasi-chairman of the advisory/board. We have a CEO. We've got some great employees down at the city. I'm very confident in Joseph and the entire team there, Aaron in finance, and we could name them all, but they're amazing people. I just think that we need to continue to refine and address this and find a balance between the two. We definitely don't want to drive what they do, but we definitely are responsible for overseeing it.
Thank you. The next question, also from the audience, and Mr. Sherman, if you would begin, is what was the worst decision council made in the last year or so, in your opinion, and why?
I'm not thinking because there's been so many, because there really hasn't been many. But I do want to think about it before I provide an answer, before my time clock starts.
30 seconds.
I'm not one that would make a quick decision ever, and I think that this question I'd want to sit with. There's not something that's rattling around my head right now that I'm like, wow, they really blew it and put us on a bad path. So I know it's probably not a great answer for you all, but that's just who I am. I'm not gonna make a quick answer without taking in more consideration and really putting my thoughts together.
So it's awkward, right? Because I'm on city council right now. And, you know, I do have an answer, but I don't feel comfortable saying it. And the reason being is a lot of our decisions that we make on council involve a lot of executive session discussions. And therefore, I don't want to provide an answer and not be able to back it up with some context. And I won't be able to do that tonight. So the majority of our votes, I think, have been great. And I'll leave it at that.
Well, this is one of those questions where when you're not on a volunteer committee and you're not a sitting councilman, you can speak a little more freely. I'm very disappointed in how the city handled the non-renewal of Judge Madison's contract. I believe it could have been handled better. I don't necessarily question the outcome of the decision, but I think our city over the past 10 years has a history of terminating employees in a way that is less than genuine. I feel like if an employee does something wrong during their 10 years as an employee, it should be on their file immediately so that they can address it or fix it. But we shouldn't at the end just turn on people like A2 Brute with swords.
This is a hard one, Julie. Do I throw myself under the bus or the entire council? That's how it feels. Listen, we have to make some very hard decisions sometimes. Sometimes those decisions are not always popular to everyone. Some people like them, some people don't. I think for me, one of the items that I think we rushed and didn't really, at least for me personally, didn't really think about the long-term effects is the limiting of the use of the activity center. I think we should have slowed that down a little bit so that we had all the experts in the room before we made a final decision. Ultimately, we changed it for the better though.
Thank you. Mrs. Szimanski, we begin with you this time. How do we regain the civility that we once had during all the political races in our city?
Have we ever had that before? Well, I think, you know, as mentioned earlier, I think engaging all of our residents, it would be helpful. I do think that there's kind of split and division between just geographically in Lakeway, and I don't think it should be like that. I think we do have pretty good representation in terms of the city and the elected officials currently. But, you know, maybe that contributes to it, but I think ultimately it's just being respectful to one another, regardless of whether or not you agree with them on something.
Well, my answer is probably not going to come as a shocker to anybody, but for me, I'm taking ownership of my own divisiveness and lack of civility. I've been trying to do a better job personally in public, both in conversations with people and online. I believe that the buck stops here, so I'm personally committed to ending as much divisiveness as possible in this city, and I do believe it starts with me and other people in the room.
I think one of the things that we have to remember is at the end of the day, we're all humans. We're all volunteers. We're not in this for the big paycheck of $0. We're trying to do our best to lead the city and support you guys. One thing that I do every day before my kids go out the door for school is I say, treat everyone with kindness. Be kind to everyone. I think if we just remember to be kind, remember they're human, and just treat people with mutual respect that's lost in today's society, I think we would get back to that.
Thank you. Mr. Levy, I'm sorry.
I forgot one and now I'm like,
Sorry, my apologies.
look, running is very difficult. I feel blessed that I have already contributed to the city, so I can speak to many matters that come up with the city and know what's going to be happening. And I would hope that in the future, I would encourage more people to volunteer and find that spark that wants them to do it. And we'll continue to bring people on. And no good deed goes unpunished, but we must do good deeds. So I don't know what's going to solve the civility issue. It's at the national level. It leads down here at the local level where you see it and you can grab people and it's closer. But we just keep pushing good people and keep being out there, being respectful of each other.
Thank you. Mr. Levy, if you would begin with this question, please. What regulations would you consider repealing? Repealing, yes.
I think we need to continue to advance on this air escaping issue. It's a major issue related to water. I feel like we definitely need to bring some serious force to bear on that. I know when we turfed our yard, it was a very tough decision to bite the bullet, but I know that our water usage went down to 0 on our landscaping, and that provides more water for everybody. I think that's one of the major things right now the city needs to consider.
In terms of ordinances, currently I don't have anything that I would like to really change. So I don't have a good answer for that. I like the way the city is being ran. There are some ordinances that need minor tweaking, but there isn't anything that I would cancel out or completely add at this time.
This is a chamber event, and we do appreciate the chamber putting this event on. I want to make sure that there's nothing out there that slows down somebody who wants to open a business or run their business, that the city has always looked at as an ally. So if there was anything on the books that needed to be cleaned up, that we would clean that up. The second is making sure that our code compliance has the tools that they need to do their job effectively, and their support. They have the hardest job in the city, having to tell somebody they can't do something, and they need their support, but we do have to maintain the current beauty of Lakeway.
I think we've done a pretty good job of this in my 2 years, and it was something I ran on, which was eliminating any unnecessary bureaucracy, which we've done slowly but surely, going through our ordinances, looking at things like where are we expending a lot of resources that we don't really need to be expending. We've done it with some of our approval processes for special use permits. We've done it for some of our zoning issues. And so continuing to take a look at our ordinances to make sure that any type of barrier to businesses wanting to open or any unnecessary bureaucracy, I guess, would be things that I would continue to want to eliminate.
Thank you. Another question from the audience, Ms. Brynteson, if you would reply. First, the issue of the 620 expansion was brought up. What would you do to work with the businesses on 620 to keep their businesses thriving, not dying?
That's a very good question, because as I brought that up, when the 620 expansion happens, you guys are going to get hit, and this is a chamber event. One of the things that I would take a look at is maybe extending business hours, so people are more inclined to come here if for restaurants and such. Really encouraging the traffic. Changing some of the ways that may not be 100% in terms of all the code to come in, but making it easiest for people to get there.
This really is similar to the previous question, which is that we as a city will be looked at as an ally to these local businesses. We don't know yet which ones are truly going to be affected, which ones will actually benefit from this change, but they need to know that we will be an ally, and when they have an issue directly related to this, we will be there to help them.
I think the passage of our transportation bond is actually hopefully going to help this alleviate some of this problem because of the connectivity that we're getting ready to implement. Reducing traffic and congestion on 620 as it stands today, I think will still help the congestion when we're under construction. So my hope is, again, that does alleviate some of that, and I also would say that we do need to support those businesses, work with the landlords if there's any way to assist, for landlords to assist those businesses, or for us to help them assist those businesses as well.
Well, the experts, first off, I believe we have more time than we think on 620. It's continuing to creep. You know, it was 2 years from now, and it's 3 years from now, it might be 4 years from now, it might be 5 years from now. Money keeps getting moved around to other projects. So I think we have time to not panic and at least come up with a firm strategy. Myself, first off, I'd like to see some help in getting the school district staffed up with all the school bus drivers so we can get as many parents off the road driving their kids to school as possible and get kids back in buses and get people employed. Secondly, we need town square so that we can get access to these businesses, as many of them as possible.
Thank you. Mr. Sherman, we begin this question with you. How would you attract and grow businesses to Lakeway?
I feel like 3 strikes are out if I say the same thing again, but it's pretty clear. We need to be an ally for businesses. I met with some local businesses recently and asked, is it a staffing issue? He said, no, I've got a stack of resumes. There are some businesses that are just not great operators. Lakeway, as it is today, is not a city where people just drive around in their car aimlessly. We pretty much know which restaurants we're gonna go to, which stores we're gonna go to, and we go to them. And again, I have to repeat it, anything that is red tape that we have in the city that would impede a business success, we need to get rid of.
I think working with the small businesses, hopefully, that's what I'm aiming for, but any business that comes to us, showing them data, because we're gonna be doing studies like that, that will help them feel confident in coming to Lakeway. Like I said earlier, I really don't think this is gonna be a problem. Businesses are gonna want to come here. We're already losing a lot of taxpayer dollars to Bee Cave because our families go to the Hill Country Galleria instead of staying here in Lakeway. So I think businesses are gonna wanna come here regardless, but we definitely need to be open to helping them feel confident about that in any way we can.
I think just continuing to support the businesses that are in place is one step. I also believe that if we look across the environment that we're surrounded by, everybody makes a good point. I personally would like to see us come up with a Buy Lakeway program where we have some type of incentive where it may sound crazy, but maybe take the top 10 people who spend the most money at local businesses in the year and they get some type of break on the property taxes or some form of remuneration. We need some type of incentive program for people to shop in Lakeway. There's a lot of great businesses here. We've all been trained to go to Bee Cave, and it's just hurting us outright. So that's really the very simple answer.
We're actually starting this. I was on the comprehensive plan hiring committee for the firm. The firm that we hired is very good at creating catalyst sites. What that is they are going to bring in their experts to take a look at open land and redevelopment to determine what are the best businesses that could go into this, creating an actual plan for building it, and then guiding those businesses in. We also have a retail coach that is actually out there actively seeking new businesses that may come into the community. So we're currently doing that now.
Thank you. So Ms. Szimanski, this question is for you to begin with. So campaign spending is relevant since council is a non-salaried volunteer position. So residents are concerned sometimes about the proliferation of signs, big money campaigns raise concern about influence, and the costs of campaigning influence the ability of people to stand sometimes. So what changes would each of you suggest, Ms. Szimanski?
I don't suggest any changes to that. I work in government at every level currently, and this is not anything uncommon. Some people are working people and they can't self-fund their campaigns. I've been on council for 2 years. I raised $15,000 in small donors on my first campaign. They were all small donors under $100 that live in Lakeway, residents of Lakeway. So again, not every candidate can self-fund, nor do I want only candidates who can self-fund. So yeah, I don't see any changes. I would be open to looking at them, but I don't have any suggestions for that.
Well, to speak directly to this one, personally, I'd like to see us ban signs. Frankly, I think they're a complete distraction. They're a waste of money. They're a blight upon our community. I didn't enjoy spending all the money and time and energy I had to put my signs up or to maintain them, and I just don't really think they're necessary. I don't know if anyone in here ever voted for somebody because of a sign. I've never had. But more importantly, you know, in regards to campaign spending, it didn't used to be like that, and up until a certain period of time recently where a certain person, you know, ran for a certain office and suddenly spent $50,000, $60,000, $80,000 for a campaign, I think that's what ticked it off. And so for me, as far as, you know, spending money on a campaign, you got to spend what you have to do to get your brand awareness out there, if you can afford it.
My first campaign finance report this year, I only spent $700. I'm reusing my signs, I'm a constitutionalist. I don't like additional layers of bureaucracy and limitations on our citizens. We're all citizens and we have constitutional rights. So while I didn't spend much, I don't think that it's right for council or candidates to say, no, you can't spend your money. It's not a court. That is not how the United States of America operates, so I'm not for it.
I'm not for any sort of campaign finance reform either. The reason is that it gives the voters an opportunity to see which special interests are backing which candidates have made the decision to cap their donations, as I have, at $100 per person. That's it. And I don't want to see that change and lose that opportunity to show everyone how I am running a campaign.
Thank you. This question we begin with Ms. Brynteson. As a candidate for Lakeway City Council, please share what specific Lakeway.
I think it missed a week.
Did you not answer?
No.
No,
I think is there
You're right. My goodness. Need a new moderator. It's a long day. Okay. So, as a candidate for Lakeway City Council, please share what specific Lakeway or Lake Travis organizations and or committees or programs you volunteered with.
It's a good question. Right now, most of my time has been spent with the Lakeway Police Foundation. Pretty much every other day, if not almost every day, I've spent a considerable amount of time working on raising funds. Today, for example, we had a 3-hour-long training session on the Better Unite platform so we can start working on raising money for the gala, which we've already banked $40,000 for. Yesterday, I had a conversation with Councilwoman Vance about what happens next. I myself am ready to look at volunteering for some other committees. I would love to serve on ZAPCO and possibly serve on the Comprehensive Plan Committee. I do believe that is an important thing to do.
I personally have many, probably hundreds, if not thousands of hours into volunteerism in Lakeway. Is Lakeway Elementary PTO, many organizations and foundations throughout Lakeway. I was also a member of the Arts Committee prior to joining City Council. I'm now the council liaison. Only makes sense. I'm an artist, and why not represent the folks that I used to volunteer with? So that is the extent of my experience prior to being elected and then being appointed to 4 different appointed positions.
So currently, for the city specifically, I'm a commissioner on the Zoning and Planning Commission. I'm the chair of your 2024 Comprehensive Plan. Independently, I work with the Lake Travis Trail Coalition, where we're out cleaning up the trails and naming the canyonlands. I'm a member of the Lakeway Friends of the Parks, where we're out cleaning out the areas outside the canyonlands. I've flown rescue dogs around as a pilot for Pilots and Paws. And more importantly, when I haven't been on a committee, I've advocated at council meetings from the podium that all of us are able to do as citizens.
So for the last 2 years, I've been on council. For the last year, I've been the ZAPCO liaison for council. Prior to that, I've served on several advisory boards for the state of Texas and for the city of Austin. I've also volunteered not just on the advisory boards, but mentoring young children at the Austin Independent School District who have parents who are incarcerated. I still currently serve on a number of boards, including the Texas Law Enforcement Peer Network, which was a legislative mandate, and I've been able to actually bring a lot of that volunteerism to Lakeway, making us a leader in that area.
Thank you. Now, this is our last question, so Ms. Brynteson. In a few words, describe the most relevant strengths of each of your 3 opponents.
Humorous. He's volunteered quite a bit. And Jennifer is probably my buddy on council. She's smart and articulate and knows her stuff. Christopher is tenacious and a go-getter. Is that the easiest way to do it?
Great.
I don't think anyone fights as hard for our police department and police in general than Jennifer does. I think Chris is a very accomplished business person, and I think Kelly brings a ton to the arts because she actually is a true artist, and you should check out some of her work.
There's a lot of things about Kelly that I like, but the main one is that she's a mom to Lake Travis students and understands a lot of those issues and how they pertain to some of the decisions we make on council. Matt obviously has experience on Zapco, which I do think is tremendously helpful for anyone trying to run for council. And Christopher, I think he brings a different perspective, which I feel like is always welcomed. And we should always be open to opinions that might differ from us or outside perspectives.
Thank you. So,
it's all fine. It's all good. I'm gonna start with this end. Jennifer, wow, married to a cop, is a cop family, love cops. Matt is a car guy, and Matt and I have shared some moments about cars, and I have to admit, that's hard to do these days in a man's world, but Matt is down with cars, and I love that. Kelly, I think Kelly has a servant's heart, and she's clearly very committed to this community, and I'm proud to be up here with all three of these people.
thank you. So this is now an opportunity for a brief closing statement, and Mr. Sherman, if you begin, please.
So appreciate all of you coming out. You're already community leaders by showing up and then relaying what you hear tonight back to your friends and neighbors. When I joined our HOA board, one of my goals that I made clear to everyone is when people are at at a friend's house or something, they're like, I'm in an HOA, ours is terrible. I want to be like, no, ours is pretty good. We like ours. It's the same thing how I want to treat Lakeway. If people go, man, our government, it's so hard to get things done, the permits, et cetera, et cetera. You know what? Ours is pretty good. We really like it. I appreciate you all coming out. I do have signs in the back, so if anything resonated with you, please take one. If nothing resonated with you, please take one and put it in your neighbor's yard that you might disagree with anyway. Matt Sherman, thank you very much.
Well, I'll use this time to kind of clear another thing that I didn't get to say. My last campaign finance report was right around $1,000. I used all my signs from last time around. I've raised, $7,000 or less than $7,000 this time around. Last time around, I obviously raised a lot more money, but not once have I would love to be accused of ever voting a certain way based on any type of donation I ever took. I've been working for my constituents, and I'm more than happy to go over all the issues that I've been able to accomplish. They're on my website, which is jenniferforlakeway.com.
It's a great question. I want to just leave you all with the thought that we all here have a choice. We all came here tonight of our own free volition. Looking forward, each one of you has an opportunity to really figure out what Lakeway you want to be a part of and who up here resonates with you the most. I think you should give careful consideration to the qualifications of each candidate up here and figure out what your priorities are and how they align. Hopefully mine align with yours. Lastly, my campaign finance report was correct. Thank you.
I'm running to serve you guys, continue serving you guys hopefully another 2 years and 4 years after that. I think the biggest reason why we all do this is we want to serve the folks of Lakeway. It's been one of the best assets of working with you guys, getting things accomplished, being proud of what we can do together. For me, I enjoy it. I will tell you just quickly, my son just recently won a service award at school for service because he goes above and beyond without asking to serve people in his community and in his school, I should say, at Lakeway Elementary. And so for me, I enjoy it. I'm emulating, give me 1 second. I'm emulating something that is going to my kids, and I'm very proud of that. So I'd appreciate your vote. I'm number 4 on the ballot. Kelly Brynteson, thank you. Number 1, I'm sorry. I was the bottom of the ballot last time, folks. I really was, so I'm just sorry. Number 1.
Well, we are fortunate people to have the 4 of you standing for office, and we are mighty grateful. And let's express our appreciation to the families being with us here this evening. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for being here.